Cause it's time to move on now. It's time for murder blues.
Okay.
And that's how you really unwind the rod.
I mean, that's how you unwind me because, like, as Brian and I were just talking about, I had fucked up last week's episode so badly that him and Continue were like,
me and Ken are like super creepy whispering in that.
But except for the video, which I think I uploaded the wrong one to Podbean after because I had so many issues. I was just like, I'm getting something out there, and I'm like, if whatever, and next week will be better. But I was like, holy fuck. But yeah, we are Murder Movies, part of the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. It's in the game. And Ken is off. I don't know what she's doing this week. I think she's hunting mooses in Canada.
She's hunting moose? Fuck yeah.
She's hunting mooses. No, I don't know what she's really
moose,
doing.
Is it moose? Mooses.
It's moose.
But why isn't it meese? Because
I don't know.
Or geese?
Because it sounds too much like mices and mice.
No,
and
sounds fucking better. It should be meese. It
meese?
should be a group of meese.
It sounds like
I think it's a group of moose. I think moose plural is just moose.
It is because it's not mooses. No, it is definitely not mooses. Mooses is like sounds like something like a 4-year-old would say. Mommy, I want to go see the mooses at the zoo. The mooses. Not that I don't. Have you ever seen a moose at a zoo? I don't think I've ever seen a moose at a zoo.
I've never seen a moose at a zoo.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I've also never seen a moose in real life because I've seen a lot of deer because I live in the middle of Missouri. Well, not middle, but I live in Missouri. And I've seen a lot of deer.
If you don't live in Kansas City, you live in the middle of nowhere. Is what is what a. I mean,
either Kansas City or St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about
everywhere else in Missouri is bumfuck Egypt.
Yep, it is. So, middle of nowhere. Just like most of Colorado is. It's like if you don't live in like Denver, Colorado Springs, or Pueblo or Fort Collins. I guess Pueblo kind of, but like you just live in the middle of nowhere.
You live in the middle of nowhere, yeah.
Yeah. So, so how are you doing, you sexy fuck?
I'm doing okay.
I'm doing okay. I
had a shitty fucking week, but I'm doing okay now.
I get that. I've been. It's that thing where like you sit there and as your life as an adult transitions into like whatever the fuck is going on, and you're just like. Why isn't life ever get easy? And it just never does. And it just never does. It never gets easy, Brian.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. That's okay. It's okay.
It doesn't at all.
Yeah. I went out on a date with a lady and we played video games all night and then
that's a fun date.
And when we went to is the common thing is now like these places that don't have like food in them. They have like food trucks, and this like, it was like a arcade bar, and I think they had a fighting game tournament going on at the same time, and it's just like I was just laughing my ass off because like next up we have Balls Deep versus, and I'm just like, what is it? Just the people's names in their fighting game tournament because it was like divided into 2 sections, and so we were just like in the normal part of the section, and I'm in the arcade, and then you hear it over the announcement, and I'm like. What is even happening, man? And so I was like, this is very weird. But then they had go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just very curious as to how the date went. I'm listening.
It went well, but they had a tater tot truck outside and went to get tater tots like right before they closed, and they're like, we don't make tater tots anymore. We have French fries, and I'm like, then you're not a tater tot truck,
then
you're
motherfucker.
Not a
tater tot truck, motherfucker.
So it was interesting, but it was played a bunch of like one of the House of the Dead games, and then like.
Did you guys play Ninja Turtles 2 Turtles in Time?
No, we played the Alien versus Predator game. That's like that. Like
that's
the
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Capcom classic.
I think the only thing that's
Konami. I think it's
so far. Yeah, whatever. I don't know which one made them, but like,
no, it's Capcom.
I think the only thing that's questionable about this lady is that she loves Prometheus, and I don't know if I can make that work.
Well, it was nice knowing you, ma'am.
I don't think we could talk anymore. You love Prometheus too much. Yeah.
The rest of the night and rest of the life. And,
just keep ignoring what is wrong with this movie. No. I had to save that one for you. Because if you don't know Brian's old podcast, I came on because he had an episode where that was yours. Yeah, it was like one of your bonus episodes, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, I think so.
And where we ranked all the Alien and Predator movies, and I was literally, I had Prometheus second to last. It was like.
Yeah, I think the only one you had worse than that was the Alien versus Predator 2, wasn't it? Or
yeah.
Did we include those? I can't.
Yeah,
remember.
we did, and
yeah, because you had that as last, right?
Because you can't see the fucking movie.
You can't see the fucking movie, so how can you judge it? Even? Yeah,
exactly. And I was just like, no, Prometheus. Is it like one of those things where it's like, man, it goes. And I bet if I go back and watch Prometheus, I wouldn't hate it as much now. But like,
probably not.
It very much like we talked about with Tusk last week, when you go into a movie like that and with the wrong expectations and things make you very sad, Brian. And that's probably what it was. But it was a good time. Had a good night.
Good.
She is an Overwatch player, so we've been playing Overwatch a little bit, but.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I saw you playing Overwatch. I thought that was interesting.
Odd.
I'd never even seen you online playing that game before, but that's cool.
I had never played Overwatch 2. I used to have a podcast about Overwatch, like I was on, or I didn't really have it. I was just like the comedic part.
You were the comedic.
I mean,
the seasoning.
I was the one who said fuck a lot on the podcast, which is what tends to happen when I'm around, but.
I don't think I could be in a podcast that I couldn't say fuck.
Yeah,
I can't do it because I can't not say that word.
I think I've gotten onto podcasts which were more family friendly and kind of restrained myself a little bit, but it's like you're sitting there going, I can't say cocksucker, motherfucker, wiener, shit, I mean poop.
Yeah. With that being said, I do know how to handle myself in public and in professional situations.
Yeah, that makes one of us.
That doesn't mean my favorite word is still not fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It is always the bestest word in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I did some stuff this last week. I finally went and saw In a Violent Nature.
Okay. What was your thoughts on that? Because I haven't seen it yet.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I heard pacing. Pacing is the problem.
What?
Pacing is the problem with that film.
Honestly, I don't think the pacing's really that bad. I actually really don't. My issue with the movie is it's billed as a movie that 90% of the film is shot from the perspective of the killer, which is very true. It's mainly like you see the back of the killer, like 90% of the movie, and you're following the killer. There's no score to the film, which I like because they went for like full immersion.
Yeah.
The problem that I have with the movie is that the dialogue is pretty fucking atrocious, and the acting is pretty shit, and it abandons its identity at the end of the movie. And
is that the not 90% there?
Well, yeah, yes and no.
Yeah,
yeah.
I assume.
I mean, it abandons its whole identity at the end of the movie, and I don't understand why he made that choice.
Also, I have a weird thing about slashers now because I feel like people get excited about slashers for the in my opinion, the wrong ideas. Like, I enjoy Terrifier, but the way people act like it's the best thing since sliced bread, I'm just like,
it's not.
It's not, and you guys are acting like it's the greatest thing ever, and I'm just like...
You have the same opinion of Terrifier that I have of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I mean, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, is completely overrated. I think that the film is, especially now watching it in modern times, the film doesn't hold up. It doesn't do what it meant to do, and it's like, I just laugh and say all the time, it's a home invasion film where where Leatherface was. Some things that I'm like, how has nobody ever talked about this? These people are literally just sitting in their house, and these strangers are wandering into their house in Texas, nonetheless. And you're going, and Leatherface is the bad guy. The only person he kills outside of the house is the most annoying character in the horror, the history of horror cinema. Yeah, Franklin. Yeah. It's just like, nope. This is a home invasion film where these people protect their house. I mean, they eat them too, but that's besides the point because. Yeah, I like, it's the same thing as like The Exorcist, man. It's that thing where you have that thing where people talk about these historic films and you just won't shut up about them and won't shut up about them and won't shut up about it. And it going back to what I said earlier, expectations and how expectations fuck up a movie experience. They fuck up I don't think Prometheus is actually, if I would have just watched Prometheus by itself and hadn't been in a lifelong Aliens fan, I would probably be like, oh, the characters are a little dumb, but it's a gorgeous movie. But then you have the expectations of Alien and Aliens and all these other things. And you're just like, and you just like lose your goddamn mind. But like, it's very much like expectations mean a lot. And it's like, I don't know. So you have the thing where like, I think my first Texas Chainsaw was the remake that I ever watched was the remake.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
My first one was the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have it sounds to me like you kind of look at Terrifier in the same way that I look at Chainsaw. While I respect the fuck out of Chainsaw for what it did for horror at the time, because it's 1974, you know.
Yep.
And the movie was made on a shoestring budget with a lot of love and there's a lot of great things in the film. The use of sound is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The camera work is phenomenal in that movie. But let's face it, the story is incredibly thin. Yeah. The acting is pretty bad. And to me, those are all important elements in movies. Yeah. That for some reason, when people talk about Chainsaw, they are willing to forget that those elements exist, and then they say things that make no sense, like, but that's not what's important in this movie. Why is Chainsaw held to a different grading scale than any other film? I don't understand
that. And the thing is that people go like, oh my god, it's the most disturbing thing ever. That movie is not even violent. There's barely any blood in it. I mean, it's just very much like, it's like people's imagination. Because like Josh and I, when we were like a couple years ago for Christmas time, we did what the fuck is that movie called? With the little kid and the babysitter in the home invasion.
Better Watch Out.
Yeah, Better Watch Out. Which we were talking about it in the whole like the paint can scenes specifically, where like people's like fucking like memories and stuff like that like make things way worse than they actually are, because our imagination is the worst thing you could ever have. And that like it's the same thing with that movie, where like none of the violence is like the chick getting chucked on the hook, don't see anything. He's just like, oh, then now she's hanging there. It's not like the remake where it's like it's super violent and gritty. It's gritty, don't get me wrong, but like it's a thing where the context of it, like, dude, if we're gonna talk about 1974 horror movies, I'd rather watch Black Christmas any day of the week over
Christmas is so good.
Yeah. I think it's
it's just weird to me that how people refuse to hold Chainsaw to the same grading scale that they hold literally every other movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, I like Chainsaw. I like the movie a lot. I think it's a really good movie, but I think that people look at it with the rose-colored glasses or whatever. I don't know.
I think it's one of those movies too where like it, because of the iconic nature of the film, people like praise it even more because they are supposed to.
But it doesn't hold up.
No.
Because I have had, being a horror movie nerd, you being one too, we meet a lot of people that are not, and then you talk about these movies and you introduce them to movies. I've gotten a lot of my non-horror friends to watch horror movies. I literally have a podcast where I do that to my best friend on a bi-weekly basis. I've had more people watch Chainsaw and tell me they thought that movie sucked and was boring and then they've watched a movie like Halloween
Yeah.
and fucking loved it.
Yeah.
Certain movies age pretty well.
Yep.
I think Halloween ages pretty well. Chainsaw honestly doesn't.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, man. There's like, I think a lot of things that it depends on what you rely on, but like I think that there are that horror time frame. I don't know. I think that like it doesn't matter if like when it was made as much as like how it was made, and if it's made in a way that does hold. It's like fucking Rosemary's Baby is a fucking fantastic film that like never like I think still is underwatched and underappreciated by a lot of people. I mean, it doesn't help that like Polanski is a fucking creepazoid, right? But like, yeah, it's that whole like the fucking separating art from the artist, and it's weird how it's like, because even I'm like this, like I would look at things like Jeepers Creepers, where I would never watch any of those movies, but like the director being a piece of shit is like different from me than Rosemary's Babies, because I hate the ending of Jeepers Creepers more than almost any other film. Like I don't even remember the ending very much. I just remember how much I hated it and how much I was like angry after watching that film. So it's like that thing where you go, okay, I could separate this because this guy fucking sucks. But like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's that thing where all kind of like stuff holds up, and stuff like cultural references matter and change and shit like that. Because you go back, and I talk about it all the time. You go back and watch like 80s movies that like even early 90s. Go back and watch fucking Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, which was this harmless PG-13 horror movie, or I mean comedy in like, in the early 90s with Jim Carrey, and the transphobic shit in the end of that movie is just, which was just a joke at the time. Yeah, you just in there, but you watch it now, you're like, oh, that's real hard to watch. That's real.
It's real tough to watch.
Yeah. Stuff, and then you go back to 80. Like I watched The Monster Squad a couple years ago for the first time since I was a kid, and that movie's like they drop F-bombs and they're calling kids like fat shaming kids and shit that like doesn't doesn't get away with now usually. So it's that thing where like stuff holds up better. Some stuff holds up better than others, and like I think that like. Because Texas Chainsaw is such a raw movie that there are parts of it that just don't hold up very well, that don't hold. And I think Halloween is way more simplified, right? Where he just took like, he took that basic format of someone kind of being like, I mean, he was improving. Like you could hear John Carver talk about it being inspired by Black Christmas. So like, it's that thing where he took that and he took it out of a house and simplified it. But like, I think that like when you built, that's why I don't think Terrifiers, these motherfuckers that are obsessed with these movies now, are like, it's not gonna that movie's gonna look down like garbage in 20 years. It's not like
probably.
It's. I just think that when you have a film's whole the whole thing about it is like shocking. You have to have some context in it besides it just shocking. Like I think stuff
there's
like
got to be more there. I think there's a little more.
There is,
Terrifier. And
the second one,
certainly, particularly the second one, because I think the second one is actually far better than the first one.
Yeah.
I actually went and saw the second one in the theater. So I contributed to that ridiculous amount of money that movie was able to make, which is great. I'm glad. Yeah. Really happy for Damien Leone. Seems like a really, really cool guy, and whatnot. But and I'll probably go see the third one in the movie theater, and I certainly have fun watching them. But at their core,
they're just gore porn.
They're just gore porn. Yeah, it's just Saw all over again.
Well, yeah, that's. You have to wonder, like, because look at horror movies from like about 20 years ago. Think about things like Hostel, like which are just like not like held in high regard of people outside of like us horror fanatics who like It's like they make this thing where I almost feel like it's like people are like, oh, I got to be like the cool kids and go watch Terrifier 2. You know what I mean? Like it's like so it's like if I don't, I'll miss out. Okay, so I'm glad you went and saw that. I will watch that at some point. Isn't it gonna be on Shudder soon?
Please, I think it's worth a watch for sure. It's got some pretty cool kill sequences, some pretty cool gore, good practical effects,
which is good.
And because I love practical effects, as
horror
nerds do.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a fun watch. But yeah, it certainly was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I went and saw it.
It just doesn't look like, it seems very much like you're like, oh, this is gimmicky, like kind of like
Yeah.
less to a less extent.
And honestly, after watching it, that's what it really was. Like they hung their hat on it's a slasher film from the perspective of the killer. They hung their hat on that. That was the biggest marketing, thing to get you there. That it was a unique slasher movie. And at the end of the day, after it was all said and done, it really actually wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't as unique as they wanted it to be, in my opinion, because of a strange choice that the director made near the end of the movie.
Yeah, dude. It's the thing though too. It's like you watch a Friday the 13th movie, and you're there to watch Jason kill these characters, but like. Mm-hmm. You need humans there being stupid, being like normal people, being running around doing whatever they're doing to like have context to all that, and like. You have to have like your final girl, which I assume that movie does, just in a different format because of how that movie's set up. But like, yeah, it's just like, it's all weird, man. And like you have that, like, I don't know. I think when you have a film that like follows a villain, it is also harder to like, you're not having that thing where you're like, you have positive, like, good guy, bad guy. So you're like taking the norms of like cinema where you're not just, and because whenever it happens, when you have films that like just strictly focus on a villain, think even that like that Spree movie that came out a couple years ago, or or the other one with the dude from like Stranger Things, where he's running around doing the same kind of thing, where he's like killing people and he's like Uber or whatever like that, or was that Spree? I don't. There was two of them. There was the other one. The chick was like live streaming the whole movie or whatever, and like. Yeah. Where you just have these miserable characters, and you're just like, I don't know. It's why like things like, because I don't know if you saw this, and it just reminded me because it made me think of Creep. They have They announced a Creep TV show.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they're doing a TV show. It sounds like like 8 episodes or something. I'm like, oh
very
god,
cool. Very cool.
Because with all those videotapes you see that he's got, you're like, oh man, this motherfucker is prolific. So.
Yeah, so I'm due a rewatch on those movies.
Yeah,
I haven't seen those in a while.
I think I watched the first one for the podcast at one point, but never ended up watching the second one. And I love that. It's just, I love the first one, but God, it makes me feel so yucky, as I say.
It's supposed to.
Yeah, and it's like it's like what people act like Terrifier. And again, back to like that, but it's like, no, it's not just extreme thing. It's this person that is realistic and just does things that just make you uncomfortable, right? And it's like, so I don't know. Okay, anything else?
I also went and saw the Ghost concert movie.
Oh, how was that?
It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. It was very funny. It's not your typical concert movie. There's a lot of lore story stuff built in, because this is the end of Papa 4. And, so we're going to get a new Papa for the next album or 2 or whatever.
It's just the same lead singer with a different persona, right? They just change his persona.
Yeah, it's all Tobias.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, there's a lot of lore when you're a Ghost fan, and but it was pretty funny. It was written pretty well. And of course the concert footage was fucking beautiful, and it looked great, sounded great, and. It was filmed over a 2-day show. There was 2 sold out nights at the Kia something.
Oh, in LA.
Some fucking place in LA. They shot it over the 2 nights, the 2 shows.
They're European, right? They are from like
Europe.
From
Sweden, yeah.
They're from Sweden. Okay. That's what I was like. I knew they were from not America, but I thought they were from not America. Right. But yeah, those are the stuff that like I feel like you have to, when those bands hit like that from like over here, you have to have like something other than just making really cool music a lot of the time, because like you think of like Ghost, you think of like Electric Callboy, which are just fucking wild ass motherfuckers and shit like that, or even things like
Amon Amarth, even they got kind of their thing going with the, Have you ever listened to Amon Amarth?
A little bit, but not
like
all that
metal.
Much. Yeah, I don't like power metal, so you get into the things that are just like but Yeah, I think of like Hai Lung also. That's just like, I don't know if you've ever listened to Hai Lung, but Hai Lung's
I've heard of them though.
Dude, they're like dramatic war music from like 780 kind of things where they play music on human bones and shit like that.
Like Last of the Mohicans or some
shit. Oh, dude, no, it's like they did like the second that game that Hellblade 2 just came out. They did the soundtrack for that and shit like that.
Oh,
and
did they?
So they do like throat singing and like tribal shit and like so. I saw them at Red Rocks a couple of years ago, and they have natives come out and do like their own like native like things and like chants and singing and shit like that, and so it's pretty cool. But they're like tattoo artists from like a couple 2 or 3 countries in Europe. They're like very, very odd people, but they're fucking dope if you like different stuff. So it's like kind of like
I'll have to check them out sometime.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, you got us into this, so we're gonna now talk about.
I did get us into this.
Hello, Mary Lou 2, Poo, Shu, Fu, Prom Night 2, Kung Fu. Yes.
Yeah.
I have to say, man, this movie is.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bummed that Kitten's not here.
Yeah, dude, I would have laughed because I think she would have loved this movie in the way that like I kind of do, where it's like I was telling Brian before we started, I'm like, this is like, it feels like a made-for-TV movie that they decided to release on VHS, and then they put like a bunch of violence in it to pick it up. Like,
yeah, it does feel like that.
It has a weird format. Like, it's like minor widescreen, not real widescreen. It is. It's not 4:3, but it's not like 16:9. It's just this other format that I'm like, I don't know what this format is. It is mostly not violent until like it gets to the end of the movie. Really, it just seems like it has weird nudity scenes. Like this is the second time I've watched this film. I think like. I laughed so hard when she starts kissing the other chick in the
shower scene.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh my god, get out!" And she's like acting like she's like stabbing her with a knife or something like that, and she's like running away like it's the most like horrible thing in the world. And I'm like, her hair is a little weird, but I mean, she's not that bad looking. Come on, lady. But the swearing is off. Like, it's weird that like the swearing is like the way it is, and then like. And then I assume this went straight to VHS. I don't know if this was like...
There was a box office on this.
Was there?
It definitely was released in theaters. Since Ken's not here for that information, I'll give you some of that. The budget on this movie was 2.5 million Canadian. The box office was 2.7 million US. So what that translates to, I'm not sure. They did make a third Prom Night movie, though. Called Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, that came out 3 years later, which I believe was a direct-to-video movie, if memory serves me correctly.
So 2.3 million Canadian and $7.32 Canadian was used to film it because holy shit.
I think it was a box office success.
Yeah.
I think.
It is like, this is like, I was telling Brian, I watched this on Peacock, and the Peacock version is like, there's just points where there's just like you could see the film like just falling apart. Like, it's just like shitty film, like grain on it and shit like that. And I'm like, it looks... Dude, it looks worse than most 80s movies I've ever seen, like quality-wise.
It looks super good.
Yeah.
It's got a hue to it. I like the whole movie. When you're watching it, it feels like you're watching a dream sequence.
Yeah.
The whole time.
There was some weird 80s Argento or one of those guys made a fantasy movie, like one of the Italian directors who made a bunch of horror stuff. Is he the one who did Zombie? Was that Argento or whatever? I don't know.
That was Fulci, I think.
Yeah, it might have been him then. But like, he made this fantasy movie like after Conan came out and blew up, and he literally made the whole movie with like smoke machines, and he was like putting like something like Vaseline or something on the camera, and the movie is really hard to look at points. And this movie is not like that, but it is it looks like it was transferred to VHS in my mind. Like it was like, oh, we have a VHS transfer of this movie, and it is also going to be put on reels. But I will say this: I will shit on this movie for almost the whole time we're doing this. But I will say that this movie is a good time the entire time. Even I have to say, this movie, I watched it and go, these motherfuckers were sitting there, and it seems like a bunch. Whoever wrote this was like high as shit. They went and watched Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and I'm not even saying Part 1. I'm saying they specifically watched 2 before they wrote this movie.
Yeah.
And then they were like, what if we did that, and then we could reference every other horror movie that's ever come out. Like we could talk about The Exorcist, and I'm just like, wow, this movie is. They even do the Freddy popping out of the main character of Nightmare on Elm Street 2 bit at the very end of this.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm like, this movie was so inspired by it. Like, it wasn't like. Am I wrong in that this wasn't originally a Prom Night sequel, and then they turned it into?
I'm gonna assume not. I don't really actually know. Let me take a gander. It was originally titled The Haunting of Hamilton High and includes many references to homages, including A Nightmare on Elm Street, Carrie, and The Exorcist.
Yeah.
It was shot on location in Edmonton, but it doesn't specifically say whether it was just retooled to become a Prom Night sequel. But honestly, I would imagine it was.
And there's no references, and it's not like the same kind of movie.
Yeah,
because
okay, here we go. I found it. It was originally intended to be a standalone film titled The Haunting of Hamilton High, but it was retitled in order to capitalize on the success of the original Prom Night.
Dude, I have to say,
the story connection between the two films is that they are set at the same high school. However, both films were executive produced by Peter R. Simpson. So yeah, okay.
So
there we go.
I will say, because Prom Night, that movie is boring, and
yeah, I'm not a fan. We made Warren watch it, and I felt bad afterwards. I felt bad suggesting it but I wanted him to watch that first so he could watch this. Because, like I say it a lot, sometimes in life you've got to experience a few rainy days so you can really appreciate the sunny ones.
Yeah.
Because this movie to me is so much more fun
than
the first movie.
Yeah.
Now, is it a better film? Probably not. But it's more enjoyable for goddamn sure.
Which makes it a better film in my opinion. It might not be made as well, but like it is like that movie is boring, and
Prom Night's fucking boring, dude.
Yeah,
I think that movie is fucking boring as shit.
Yeah.
And it's there's just no rewatchability to Prom Night. I could watch this movie. I watch this movie pretty regularly. I probably watch this movie at least once a year.
Yeah,
at least. Because I just enjoy it. It's fucking stupid. It's fun.
Yeah.
I know when I pop this in, I'm not sitting down and watching something of the caliber of Shawshank Redemption. Okay. Yeah. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm well aware of what I'm getting myself into. But you know what? It's a lot of fucking fun. It's super fucking campy. It's absolutely absurd.
You figured that out pretty quickly when she's like telling the priest at the beginning how she like fucked her boyfriend and she loved every second of it, and then she does the whole like leaving the bathroom like for a good time call Mary Lou, and I'm just like, oh my god, this girl.
I've got that on a t-shirt.
Oh, do you?
That's I've got the Prom Night 2 t-shirt. On the back of it, it's got for a good time call Mary Lou.
Dude, it's just like it's that thing where it's like. I'm like, this chick is very much like, I still don't even like, it's like they kind of, I don't know if it's just me, but it kind of seems like they're like, okay, we have to figure out that this chick is coming back after she gets burned alive like Carrie. So if the whole concept is this chick is like a big giant slut, and I say that, and I'm not slut shaming, but the movie is like, she's like
she's
she goes
just a big giant slut.
Yeah. She goes to prom
with a girl
with
who knows how to have a good time, Rod.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, she knows how to have a good time, but then she needs to be more consistent with her actions and like dump young Michael Ironside, who looks 57 years old than old Michael Ironside.
He does. He looks a little older.
That dude looks like he's like, I'm 47.
That motherfucker's 30.
Yeah.
That motherfucker's 30.
At least his hairline is like his hairline's at the back of his fucking skull. It's like where his soft spot would be if he was a baby, is where his hairline goes.
That motherfucker's 30.
She goes to prom with this dude, baby Michael Ironside, who's way older, and then he goes to get her punch, and then she goes and starts like banging his friend in the side.
She like, I'm not gonna lie though, she is kind of a shit. She's
yeah.
kind of a fucking person for sure.
Yeah.
She's not the victim in this.
Oh no.
I mean, now with that being said, does she deserve to be fucking set on fire?
Dude,
probably not.
I do love the guy who ends up becoming the priest. Is like, you want to smell my finger? You want to shake my hand? That's like the closest you'll ever get. Like he's like, it's like he was fingering her, and like he wanted to like, you want to smell my fingers, bitch? You want to smell my fingers? And then it turns into Carrie, where he goes. Yeah, she goes and becomes prom queen, and then there's a stink bomb some other kids had gotten.
It's like and it goes all fucking awry.
Yeah,
like, in a very unrealistic way.
Well, it's like her dress is like poly. It's like the shit where it's like all the stuff that was in insulation and housing that gave you cancer back in the day is what her dress was. It's like, oh, okay. No, I completely believe that dress caught on fire, but like, I just think it's funny that like her dress catches on fire and then it's just like her face is melting, like half of her face is melting, and it's just like, oh, okay, she's pretty fucked. But then 30 years later, they find her. Were they saying that the thing that about this film that they don't really go into details of much, right? There isn't much, like they're just like the priest at one point goes, well, it says that the spirits can come back to like you do this whatever to get revenge or whatever. But like they open this fucking chest and then the chick is like in the chest. Was she in the chest the rest of the movie? And there was like a imitation body. I'm not quite sure like what there was.
No, it's super vague and it's super convoluted, obviously.
Yeah.
Once again, we're not talking about the Shawshank Redemption here.
No.
We're talking about a movie that's probably by all definition a pretty bad movie, but it's a great time.
Yeah.
Like Mary Lou Maloney herself. She knows how to have fun, and so did this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the lore on this is not explained well.
Yeah. I don't even know how at the end they're like they kind of make it think like, oh, you got rid of her, but like by putting the crown back on, but then she possessed
I guess that she was never at rest because she never got her prom queen tiara crown thing.
Yeah. Because she's like
girl's like fiddle farting and fucking around with a knot on her fucking cloak.
Cape. Yeah.
Cape, and she's just like, just forget that. Just go get the fucking crown. That's all she really cared about. She just wanted her fucking prom queen crown. So she doesn't even get that. She gets that's like what they find. They find the cape and the crown in that crate.
Yeah.
And I guess them popping that popping open or whatever woke up the vengeful spirit of
Mary Lou.
Lou, but who is played by Lisa Schrage, who, in my opinion, doesn't get enough credit for being a really, really fucking cool villain in this movie. Because while she's not in the movie a whole lot, she's only in the movie in like the beginning
and the end
sequences. But when she pops out of old girl, a la Freddy Krueger style, popping out of Mark, she looks fucking rad.
Yeah.
Dude,
they're like they're like, okay, we're gonna make her look rad, but she's gorgeous, so
she's fucking gorgeous.
We can't keep her in the like Skeletor makeup for more than like a couple of, like minutes.
Yeah, you see her like kind of regenerate, very similar to what we saw like in Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And the practical effects on that are super fun.
Yeah.
They're goopy and gross and fucking awesome.
Dude,
but yeah, she's so fucking pretty though. Lisa Shrey she has these devastatingly beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
And she's doing conventions now, man.
Is she?
Like she never did any of that shit for like 11, but she's doing conventions now. She was at Texas Frightmare this year.
Dude,
I wanted to go.
Dude, then they take Vicky, who's played by Wendy Leone, is her name, I guess. And
Wendy Lyon or Leone, yeah,
they kind of ugly her up a little bit with these weird like they kind of make her nerdy, like they tend to do in Hollywood movies, especially in the 90s, where they like nerdied up people to like, oh my god, this person. It's like you put glasses on them. You're the ugliest person alive, and you take the glasses. Oh my god,
it's god, like you're so hot.
The 10 like, things I hate about you and all that shit.
She's all that kind of fucking thing.
Yeah. And that, dude, I sit there and go, this movie is so like, it doesn't seem like there are many original ideas in it. They just like took these other movies they liked and they like put them together. Like the whole, like I said, I think the biggest one is Nightmare 2. I think that like, and then Carrie, but like
it's got Nightmare 2. It's got Fast Times at Ridgemont High in here. We've got The Exorcist and we got Carrie.
Yeah, dude,
it's fucking awesome.
The sequence that I think of, like what, like besides her popping out of like the Vicky character, is the like where it's the desk and she goes into the like the chalkboard and it's like it's like very much it reminded me of like the wall sequence in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, where they're just like they're doing practical effects to make it look like it's weird dreamy things, and I was like, this is cool. I think it's probably one of the better shots in the whole film, and it was making me laugh, dude. The scene that made me laugh because I was like, what the like perspective wise, it was funny when she bursts through the confession booth with the priest, and it's like she's like pulling it around, and it's like, have you ever been in a confession booth? They're like 3x3, and they're like walking through small. It. Yeah, and she's like pulling stuff apart. Like they had to have made like a confession booth that was like 3 or 4 times bigger than a normal confession booth, and she's like pulling it apart, and then like I'm like, okay, and then somehow this bitch drags the body of this priest who was the guy she was fucking when they were back in like 1957, and buries him, and nobody notices that. Like, well, also, what was the dad gonna do with the body? Was he gonna like pull like a supernatural and like salt and like light the body on fire? I wasn't completely sure what he was going to do when he went to dig up her grave. Like another thing, yeah.
It's a good question.
I was like, what are you doing with that, Michael?
There's a lot that's not explained in this movie, man.
No, there's a lot that's not explained in this movie. You're just like I said, you don't get, because then they had to sequel bait because this was an 80s horror film, and there's like, okay, we have to go and you set up for the next one. But like it, even if it made money, it didn't make a lot of money. So like, yeah, but so Michael Ironside at the end, which also you remind me of the end of Moon Knight. Did you watch Moon Knight?
No.
So yeah, there's an ending that kind of reminds me of that, but like where Michael Ironside is now, whatever. But also like how half the fucking Nightmare on Elm Street movies end, where like Freddy Krueger's just like, oh, I'm not really dead, but I'm dead. Yeah, kind of thing. So I don't know. This movie though is just like you said, it just shows you that horror doesn't, I mean, not even just horror, but I think horror is one of those things where it can, if you were trying to do something fun, it doesn't necessarily have to be good. I love bad movies, man, if it's done not boring. Like The Room is fucking incredible. Like I talk about fucking The Fanatic with John Travolta all the time because that movie is so bad, but I love it because it is fucking John Travolta and fucking Fred Durst directing, and just John Travolta overacting on a level that's hard to describe, but like, and you're just like, this is all so bad. It's like watching a car crash. And then this movie isn't like, his movie isn't like that big of a car crash, but it's just like you're like they're taking all these. When I say I'm going to use the word inspirations very loosely because inspiration would mean that you would do something original, and this movie just kind of copies a lot of stuff. I like to say when she her friend she tries to kiss her friend in the shower and she's running around naked, and then she squishes her with a locker, which is one of the goofiest deaths I think I've ever seen in a horror movie, because like when she does it, like the slime from Ghostbusters 2 pops out of the
yeah, it's pretty over the top.
Yeah, you're like
goop that shot out of the fucking cracks.
It didn't look like blood or anything. It looked like
no, it didn't. It was just goop.
Yeah, it looked like it looked like the stuff from Ghostbusters 2, the pink stuff that makes the Statue of Liberty dance. But you're like
Jackie Wilson.
Yeah. Dude, I haven't watched that movie in a long time because it's funny. I used to work with this guy, and I was like, you remind me exactly of the painting from Gozart, or not Gozart. What's his name? What's that guy's name?
Vigo.
Yeah, I was like, you look like Vigo, man. And I was laughed about that. And then somebody tried to tell me I looked like Vigo the other day, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, motherfucker? I'm like, I don't look anything like Vigo. I don't know, man.
Not really. I don't see it.
Yeah. I think I might have my hair done when they said it, but like even then, I'm like, I don't look like Vigo at all. But maybe if you put me in some Shakespearean-looking clothes and like make me look a little bit older,
you're tall like him.
Yeah, I am 6'3". I'm a big boy, but I just laugh because it was very much like it. This movie just seems like someone was very high and then like wrote a script and like copied all their favorite parts of horror movies and put them together, and then this was the dude. The mom in this film is one of the most annoying characters of all time.
Like the biggest bitch.
Yeah.
I would have told that mom to fuck herself so many. I'd have been grounded a lot if I was that woman.
Well, dude, that's why it's like the best scene in the movie is when she like Carrie pushes her through the fucking window, and you're like, yes, get it, bitch.
Preceded by a very cringy makeout sequence. With
dude,
her in her own
what
back.
the fuck was that? I'm
That
like,
was so
why?
bizarre.
Like, you could have accomplished it, because the thing about that is fucked up. It's not her because she's possessed by this ghost, or it's not even her. Like, her body might be in this fucking trunk or whatever. We don't know because you never really fully explain it. But like, the dad doesn't seem like he's not into it, and you're just like,
yeah, it seems like he's kind of liking it in a way, but like in that, it was pretty fucking crazy.
You ever see that? I think it was Adrian Brody was in it. That movie, maybe it wasn't Adrian Brody, but that movie where the scientist and his like wife like genetically engineered that thing. Was it Splice?
Yeah, I think that was Adrian Brody. It was called Splice.
Yeah, and where he's like, was it his DNA and then he fucked it, or I don't know, but like there were things.
I've only seen it once.
Yeah,
didn't really think it was all that great, so I haven't watched it since. I would need to rewatch that.
There was some weird incesty thing like that in that movie that I just don't like. I was trying to remember offhand, but like, yeah, I was like, this scene is one of the cringiest scenes I've ever seen in film, and I'm just like, they were trying to be provocative and like show, but like. Right. I hate the idea of any of that shit, because we live in America where you open a porn site and every fucking other video is step this and step that, and I just go, ugh,
yeah.
Ugh, ugh. And I know you're not taking, but it fucking grosses me out. So that scene was just like, because it's like incest is fucked up and gross, and one of those things. There's like, it's not just like taboo, like where you're like, oh, shitting on someone's chest is taboo, but like it's just like nature. It's wrong in nature because things turn out wrong, and just like you get like things that look like Leatherface, and you get all this shit, and it just doesn't, not supposed to happen, man. So it just grosses me out anytime films do that shit. I'm just like, So yeah, I was just like that scene. It was so bad that I was like, I got to talk about this, and then I had blacked it out because I'm like, I fucking hate the scene, and I just like.
And then I brought it up.
Yeah,
like
I'm just
asshole.
like, no, I mean, it's good you brought it up because I could get a bitch about it because I'm like this scene is just like, dude. And then I'm gonna counter it because then they kind of make it up because that chick blows the dude to get his like become prom queen. she goes back out and dude, my favorite character in the movie is the dude she blew who dies in the most Freddy Krueger like murdered you kind of fashion in the entire movie where like electricity comes out of the computer. But she goes out, she literally blows the dude so she could become prom queen. Goes out, backs to her boyfriend. He kisses her and he goes, you have any more of those mints you're and you're like, because it gets a little confusing at first because like when she goes to blow him, she puts down the mints and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then that line later, you're like, oh, okay, it was a mint. And so she knew she was going to blow him and then put a mint in so she doesn't like taste like cum to her boyfriend who looks like they're like, oh, we need it looks like dime store Fabio. It's like the dude's got long, gorgeous blonde hair, and it's just like it's like we also
he was about 27.
Yeah, I was gonna say who looks like he's like about to hit his midlife crisis, but he's in high school. And I'm just I'm like, that is the funniest line in the whole. And because the actress also overacts it, where she's like, oh, and it makes this really sad face, but it's like overly comedically sad, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is why this movie's great. You just take out the weird incest thing, and you're just like, okay, I'm perfectly happy with everything else. You had it at 1 hour and 37 minutes. You take out the incest crap, and you save yourself 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, and you're okay. You still hit 90 minutes. And I mean, but to be fair, that whole thing was setting up her yeeting her mom through the window with her psychic powers. That that's the goofiest thing about this movie. Like I keep saying, there are no rules. It's like this character could do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, because it's like, oh, because this scene's like Carrie, and this scene's like Nightmare on Elm Street, and this scene is like The Exorcist, and it's just like, nothing about this was actually very much Exorcist-y. It was just like they kept referencing The Exorcist, right? So they even say Linda Blair at one point, right?
Yeah. Your mother sews socks in hell.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, because it's the guy who got blown at the computer that is always making the Exorcist vibe.
This movie just did something very funny for me though just now for the first time. I have the Wikipedia and stuff pulled up, so we have some extra information. Trying to be a good podcast, buddy. And it's going through the synopsis of the film. There's a sentence here. It says, at the prom, Kelly, desperate to become prom queen, fillets her classmate Josh since he is in charge of the voting results. Fillets is a linkable word. And when you click on, when you highlight the word, it brings up fellatio, the Wikipedia page for fellatio. And there's a goddamn picture of a woman sucking a cock right on there. And I'm like, wow.
I don't know how often I've seen
got their goddamn bases covered, yo.
Yeah, I guess so, man. They weren't messing around.
They were not fucking around,
dude. I just go, well, because they're all like, edited by the community, right? So it's like you sit there and people do. I don't know.
Went out of there, went above and beyond.
Yeah.
To create the fellatio Wikipedia page.
I mean, you gotta get blown. That's why that guy got I mean, I don't want to be electrocuted by my computer, but at least a hot chick blew him momentarily before he died. So at least he went out. I mean.
He went out with an empty nutsack.
He did. He went out when watching a porno and the guy's balls look like they don't exist because they nutted 3 times before they filmed the scene. But yeah, I think that like that whole end is kind of funny because like they really go like that. The end I think suffers from the like we have lore, but what is the
lore?
Yeah, fuck that lore. We don't know how. We're not going to really
entirely what it is.
Yep. So we're just going to make it so.
Though this movie does not know what it is, but it also knows what it is at the same time.
Yeah.
If that makes any fucking sense.
You know, the other movie it actually did kind of remind you of Poltergeist because they had like the trunk kept glowing like it was like the television in Poltergeist or whatever, and like very much like.
That's such a good fucking movie, man.
Dude, it is. Steven.
Is one of my favorites ever.
Yeah, it's. I mean, everything about it. Toby Hooper.
Toby Hooper.
I said Toby Cooper, so I mean,
Toby Cooper, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steven Spielberg production. I think Industrial Light and Magic did the special effects for that.
Yeah, this movie was just inspired by every film from the 80s that in 70s that was better than it, and that's okay. I mean, you just do your loving inspiration. I'm gonna keep going. Inspiration.
It's an homage.
It's an homage. It's like
homage.
It's like when they fucking remade Psycho with Vince Vaughn, and the only difference was that it was in color and that he jerked off. Like that was
he visibly jerked off.
Yeah, I'm just like
that movie had absolutely no reason to exist.
Nope.
This at least has a reason to exist.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's energy. At least it's not like just a complete remake. That's why like. You don't remake movies. I've always liked the theory of you don't remake good movies. You remake bad movies that didn't like had or movies that had budget things that like and make them way better with like modern special effects or something like that. Or you do something like different. Like The Thing is like a remake of the Thing from another world, but like it's not the same movie. And it's because as I've gotten to the point where like I've seen enough movies where you go, I don't want to see Rob Zombie remake Halloween with the exact same story, but like white trash stuff that makes me feel like gross. I'd rather see him remake Halloween 2 with a white pony and like crazy shit. And
you know what? That's a good way to look at it, and I've never really thought about it that way. But yeah, I like that. When the first time I saw the Rob Zombie Halloween movie, I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it. I respected it for what he wanted to try to do. He kind of wanted to do like his own thing, but at the same time, it really wasn't like his own thing because at the end of the day, if you cut out that first sequence where it's Michael as a kid, it's essentially the same movie.
Yep.
With just a lot more pointless cussing and white trash characters.
Yeah.
That's all that Rob Zombie knows how to fucking write because he's a terrible fucking writer.
Yeah.
But if you watch Halloween 2, on the other hand, that is balls out like Rob Zombie just fucking doing his own fucking thing with the mythology.
That's why I like that film, and it's the same. Yeah.
While it's not a good movie.
Oh no.
By any means.
No.
There's a kind of a respect in there that I'm like, you know what? At least he took chances.
Yeah, at least
he took a massive fucking chance, and that's what that's people don't like the Halloween, the David Gordon Ween trilogy. I like to call it. So I love the David Gordon Green trilogy. I actually love it.
Yeah. I don't think I've rewatched the third one since the theater, but like.
And I like the third movie.
Yeah, I did too.
And I'm glad you do. I really respect that they went out and they wanted to do. They gave Halloween fans something they've never fucking had before. Yeah. They introduced a character. They fully fleshed out that character and gave them character development.
Yep.
So we had an emotional investment in that character. Do you realize that we haven't had that in a fucking Halloween movie since 1978?
Yep.
And then in Rob Zombies.
Yeah. Dude, Halloween Kills also has one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema where the kid gets yeeted from the third story. It's just like,
yeah, that's ends. But yeah.
That's what I meant ends. Yeah.
Right.
Where the kid gets yeeted from the third story all the way down to.
Died laughing in the theater.
Dude, that shit was. I was like
a sadistic fuck, but that shit was fucking hilarious.
Oh, it was hilarious, and
that kid was a little fucking asshole.
He locked that kid. He locked that kid in the basement, and it's like, and then everybody's like, "Oh, this kid's in." Dude, that motherfucker kid asked her that. You don't lock some motherfucker that's like, you don't ask. Fuck that kid.
Scared guy now, with that being said, I think that Corey was overreacting a little bit.
Well, he was.
Fuck out.
But if that kid had locked him in the basement, he wouldn't have fucking been like the fucking outcast of the movie. He wouldn't have found hobo Michael Myers in the sewers. Right. He wouldn't have killed a bunch of people. So let's be fair.
He got yeeted off the fucking third story.
Exactly. So guess what? Fuck around and find out, kids. You fuck around with your babysitter, and maybe you create the next Michael Myers. Maybe. I don't know, man. It's on the shit where it's like, I don't know. I just think that like, it's why I love Malignant. Malignant is one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
It's so fucking cool, man.
Because it's different and does something really cool. And does something like, you and I have both seen a lot of horror movies, right? And it's just like, when you do something that surprises me and go, it actually gives you a reason to rewatch, because that movie doesn't make it is confusing the first time you watch it. And then when you know what's happening, it's like, oh, okay, this makes way more sense. And it's one of those things that's like, this movie, and it's a good tie back to this. Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, Digaboo, Jigaloo, whatever.
Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. It's different in enough that it makes it entertaining, and different is something that goes. Different is the opposite end of the spectrum of boring, and boring is my number one sin in cinema. This movie isn't. If you go. It's lit like dark. It lit like shit in dark half the film. It looks like it was recorded on a VHS tape. The acting is questionable at times, and the story is not very original. But you do it all in such a weird and interesting way that it's fun, regardless of you like. That's all that matters with this film. This film is goofy. The original was Jamie Lee did some really bad movies after fucking Halloween.
And then Halloween, she did.
She did Fog was great, but I think the Terror Train was Terror Train's kind of that was boring. That another movie that bored me. I'm just like, I think this movie
Road Games. Have you ever seen that?
That's the one in Australia, right?
Yeah, it's got like Stacy Keach in it.
Yeah.
Somebody bought me that on Blu-ray. And I haven't watched it yet, and I've never seen it, but I've not heard great things.
Isn't that the one where the giant boars killing people?
I have no idea. Like I said, I've never seen it.
I think there's a giant boar.
There was me on Blu-ray.
I think there's a giant boar movie from Australia in the 80s that I do want to see at some point, and maybe do here. But like, I love, dude, fucking Australian horror is usually pretty fucking awesome. Like we did the Loved Ones. That one movie.
Oh God, that movie's so cool.
Dude, that movie is so fucking like, it takes the cringy make out dad session from this movie and like it like makes it creepy and the fucking drill scenes of that movie, dude. That movie is just.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Loved Ones in a long time, but that's a really cool.
Yeah, movie. It's a cool movie. I like that a lot. So. Man, I'm glad because you kept talking about this movie on here, and I was like, let's just do it at some point, and then we're gonna go do Texas Chainsaw 2 next week. So,
hell yeah,
so we have set up
the superior,
dude. It is. It's because I love a good horror comedy, man. It's like I think of like my all-time like. Not just like pure movie ones, but like rewatchable horror movies is stuff like Zombieland and stuff like Shaun of the Dead and Psycho Goreman, shit that's just funny and well done and just makes it so like it's easy watches, and that's what I love, easy watches. So, okay, Brian, you want to pimp your shit, motherfucker?
Yeah, man. You guys can catch me at the We're Gonna Make You Watch podcast as well. Typically, people seem to watch us more on YouTube than they do listening to the audio episodes. But either way is fun. Come check us out on YouTube, or come check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast shit.
Yep.
Tonight we're actually recording another episode. We're gonna make Warren watch the Wes Craven cult classic, The Hills Have Eyes.
Dude, I don't think I've ever seen the original. I think I've only seen the remake.
It's been a long time since I've seen the original, but the remake's actually really fucking good.
Yeah, wasn't that the guy who did High Tension?
Yeah.
Yeah, the same director who did High Tension and then Prom 3D.
Alexander Aja, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is.
I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't want to butcher it like a
every time I try.
I usually do. I usually butcher everybody's names.
You could find me on Ryder_Johnston on Twitter and Twitch, and you can go buy my book on Amazon, The Death and Rebirth of a Human Heart. So go check that out. And Kin, I think, is coming back next week. But yeah, so we will see you guys later. Thank you for listening, and you have a good one, everyone. Bye. Bye. Yeah.